Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to this live stream, and thank you so much if you're watching live right now or after the fact. My guest today is Oscar Wenman-Hyde. So, hey Oscar, how you doing?
Hey Mike, it is great to be back on Did You See That? I mean, we've done so much together by this point, haven't we? And it feels like a staple now whenever there's a release on the horizon to get together. So really pleased to be here. I'm really excited for what treacherous questions you're going to have for me this evening.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you once again for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the channel for kind of multiple collaborations as of this point. If you guys aren't familiar, I have reviewed Cycles and Love with Black Spots, of course, with a kind of live short feature of that as well, and had Oscar on with an interview as well. So, yeah, we've definitely done a couple of collaborations, and I appreciate you reaching out to me all that time ago for Cycles for the screener, man. That seemed like a while ago now.
Oh, definitely a couple of years. Yeah, it's been a while. We've pressed on.
Yeah, man, it's honestly been a lot of fun, and Oscar's like such a great guy. So I wanted to get you on today because I realized on my channel, like I haven't actually sat down with you before and kind of like plucked your mind from kind of like your creative side and kind of making movies and books, which we're gonna get into, and then like my side where I create YouTube content, but then also kind of write on the same side as like on the side as well. So I definitely wanted to pluck your mind. So yeah, I definitely think this is going to benefit me. May benefit you guys watching if you want to get a start maybe in film, maybe don't know where to go or writing. And yeah, if you've got any comments for Oscar, please leave them in the comment section, which is, I always forget which way I'm pointing. That way for me, maybe on your left, Oscar, I'm not sure. But yes, absolutely. Please leave any and all comments and we'll certainly get to them. If you've got any questions for Oscar, we will get to them. So yeah, Oscar, without further ado, firstly, just got a couple of comments, a couple of people watching right now. We've got D Movieman.
Hey, nice.
So, hey D, says 2 awesome creators, excited to hear from you both. Yeah, well, thank you for tuning in, D. We got Soph saying, hey guys, congrats on the baby news, Oscar. Hope all is well.
Everything is great. Thank you very much. What a way to open. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, man, I'm excited for both you and Jade. So shout out to Jade, by the way, if she is watching. Such a great person, man. So yeah, congrats to you both. I'm excited to see what that journey is going to be as well, man. Pretty cool.
It's all happening.
And then the final comment we've got for now is with Drew saying, hey, what's up? So hey Drew, hope you're doing well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into kind of a couple of topics, because if you guys aren't familiar, and you might be able to see in Oscar's background right about now, he has got like little mini posters of movies and productions he's made, plus his book. So without further ado, first thing I want to go into before the subject is, Oscar, I want to actually get to know a little bit about you, because I think I know a little bit, but not maybe too much. So I want to ask you, so when you were back in school and going to college or university, was your dream at the time to write and get into books, or what did you want to do as like a profession?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's quite a long story, so I'll try and keep it somewhat short. But when I was in school, I was, the typical introverted, creative, just struggled to fit in, struggled to find the right people. And that was something that went on for, I don't know, as long as I can remember in school. I've never really felt like I found my place. And still, even now, I'm working on doing that. But when I was in school, all of my friends at the time, because, you go from primary school, you go into secondary school, and you kind of stick with that batch of friends that you move into that school with if you go to the same one for a little while. But so much changes from, that summer from year 6 to year 7 to start with. You don't turn up at secondary school as the same person you were in year 6. So much has changed. And all my friends started getting into football, and they were really into that. And I kind of just fell down that path. I didn't really know what to do. Obviously, secondary school is a horrifying place for a year 7. You're a very small fish in a big pond. And I kind of just stuck with them. Now, it's not to say I didn't like them. I have fond memories, but it just wasn't my people, being completely honest with you. And but I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have necessarily the social skills and personality to step out my comfort zone and to restart at that age. So it took me a couple of years. And then one day, this guy came and found me called Sean and just asked if I played guitar. And at that point, I did not play guitar. My dad had been trying to teach me forever, and I just was not interested. And then, being a kid in that moment, I don't know, I must have been like 12, 13 at this point. I just said yes to Sean. I was like, yeah, I play guitar. Then he was like, he's this really cool character as well. And then he said, great, band practice at yours this Sunday, and then just walks off into the distance. And I'd never spoken to this guy before. We didn't share any classes, but it was my opportunity. It was my opportunity to get out of my friendship group, to stop talking about football, to be around new people that share the same morals as me and were the people that I kind of wanted to be, you know, and creatively and expressing myself. So I got home, rang my dad, and I was like, I need to learn how to play guitar. And we did a crash course as fast as possible to get me ready. And then I turned up with Sean on that Sunday, and we just started rocking out and jamming and writing terrible songs and rocking out to The Who as loud as we possibly could with our small 10-watt amps in my garage. And a friendship was formed at that point. And yes, it's a mad story. But that's kind of where it started with music, to be fair. So it still wasn't even film. And then, you know, going through that journey with Sean, we had new people join the band, and we continuously got older and older. And then I didn't know where else to go. It didn't necessarily feel exactly right, but I did love doing it. And I was in bands at the time. And I was in an acoustic duo, and we gigged like every single week in North Devon. And then, yeah, went to college and did music. You know, loved it. I love music. I still love music, but still didn't quite fit in at college. Was kind of struggling. Just something didn't feel right. But I always did film alongside. Like when me and my brother were kids, and I mentioned this in Cycles, we'd always break into the holiday park over the road from our flat and make these films. We made one called like Cops and Robbers, like Alien Android and all of that. So I was always doing it, and I was always writing. But in those formative years, my creativity was expressed through songwriting, you know. And for anyone listening that's into music and into film, songwriting and film structurally share so many similarities, you know. With a song, you've got your verse, your chorus, your bridge, you know, and then your final chorus at the end is kind of like your 3-act structure still. You know, you've got the rise, you've got the climax, you've got the full where you sort everything out, then you've got your chorus to end in this uplifting note. And it's very similar to film in the way that's structured, except music does it in 2.5 minutes and film does it in 90, you know. So when I was going through college, I tried to say to college, because I signed up to do A-levels of music and media. I wanted to do tech, performance, and then 2 media ones as well. But in North Devon, it's not, or it wasn't when I was there, a very creative place. So nobody else had signed up to the A-levels. So it was just me. So they said, well, you're going to have to pick full-time music or full-time media. And at that time, as I just said, being in bands and everything, I thought, well, it doesn't make sense not to choose music. So I chose music. And and then beyond there, went and did music at BIM in Bristol at university. Had a great time, had a blast, learned so much. And so much of who I am as a writer and as a filmmaker is down to those years, whether that be personally or professionally or creatively. And then beyond there, to avoid working in a horrible dead-end job any longer, I went and did a master's in songwriting and production. But it was at that point, coming out of that master's, where I'm sure all graduates get to, and as all graduates feel, you're at this crossroads in your life, and it's like, right, do I work at Greg's for the rest of my life? Do I take a master's, or do I do a complete U-turn? You know, and that's kind of where I was at. I'm not dissing Greg's. I genuinely did work in Greg's, and I loved it. 50% off. What more could you want? You know, it was a good year, but I was still finding my feet. And then, it was when I got the master's and I got a job in music, and I kind of ticked all the music boxes I set out to do. And I was satisfied and I was happy. And I wasn't in bands at this point. I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to get back into film. And then I kind of didn't look back for the last 4 or 5 years. I tried. Sure, that was so long, wasn't it? I'm sorry.
No, hey, well, we've got quite a bit of time tonight, so don't worry, man. But no, honestly, it's great to hear your story and how that all kind of came around with going from knowing nothing about a guitar, by the way, because I've always wanted to learn, but like yourself, I could never grasp it.
It's hard. It's a full-time job to learn an instrument in itself. I mean, like it was just down to my need and my just absolute need to fit in. You know, I needed new friends, needed this new path. And I was like, right, I'm going to knuckle down and learn this guitar as quick as I can then. You know, and Sean was always better than me, but I tried to keep up. And I think that mentality and having that drive and that motivation to achieve something is definitely something that grew from that point and I've taken into my adulthood now. Because looking back, it's clear to see where this intense drive that kind of takes over my life a lot of the time came from. You know, it's that need to fit in, it's that need to find my people and to feel that I can openly and freely express myself. So I owe a lot to that time.
Yeah, and well, I mean, since that message that you just mentioned, Oscar, about like not giving up and kind of like having that drive. I mean, since then, as you said, like if you look at Oscar's background, we've got questions about. You got a book, you've got a script book as well, you've got a movie, a short movie, a movie coming out at some point, maybe next year. We would talk about before. So I mean, all that stemmed from you not even doing anything with film and just going down a music route to now film.
Yeah, so exactly that. I mean, it was just, I mean, like I said, there's so many similarities of music and with songwriting and with creative writing in general. I mean, they all share the same disciplines. You know, the key to being a writer is just sitting down and writing. You know, it doesn't matter how you're doing that. It's just that you're sitting down and doing it, and the format's different, you know, but it only takes a little bit of homework to understand the format. And then, you know, and a lot of it's instinct, I find as well. And when I first started writing, I wrote this script called Wendy, which is like this modern retelling set in London, based around the characters of Peter Pan. And yeah, from there, that got optioned by an independent production company that happened to be local to me, which was where I met Joshie Lee, who I still collaborate with now, who you know, Mike. And so that was kind of the first thing. I wrote that just for a bit of fun, to do something else with my life and to get back in touch with my love of film, my love of creative writing. And then that just fell into place just by chance, and people happened to like it. And then I was just like, oh, maybe this is right. Maybe this is what I'm meant to be doing. Maybe this is a sign. And I really believe in just like the power of the universe to tell me what to do. And it felt right. It felt good. I was really excited. I was more passionate and motivated than I've ever been. And yeah, that was the real turning point. I thought, right, this is it then. I'm going to write, and I'm going to keep writing, and I'm going to then start producing later on. But, you know, that's a whole other road to go down. But yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah. Well, firstly, shout out to Joshie Lee if he's watching, by the way. Awesome guy. And yeah, I know like you and Joshie have collaborated since, as you mentioned, of course. I've seen him obviously working on with Melodrive, which you got coming out again at some point in the future. And he has helped you with Cycles as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I love with Black Spots Joshie was on.
And yes,
I knew him during all that time, and he's always been like ride or die mentor and collaborator. And yeah, I'm very grateful for his collaboration and his just friendship and brotherhood, to be honest. We've done a lot for each other, and I'm very grateful for what we've just shared on Melodrive, especially.
Right. And it's just crazy, the fact of like the friend group that you had in school, like compared to like now, it's just crazy, the evolution of that, really.
Oh, 100%. It really is. But like, I think it's one of those things that I'm sure other people that have been in this position, or, you know, people that have felt really introverted growing up, it takes a lot to find your people. But you'll hear from a lot of filmmakers that film is where they found them, you know, because you share so much vulnerability with filmmakers, you know, and there's this statement, there's this term in film that says when you're on set and you've got a crew, your crew bonds through trauma. And that is pretty much what happens, because it's a hard job, you know, to produce anything for no money or with a high budget. And you really do. Sure. And it is that moment, like when you're on a film, and like we've just done Melodrive for 3 weeks, and the way our team came together, I mean, it's no different to when we've done a 2-day or a 5-day, but you really do band together, and they really feel like your people and your family at the end. And it's just what you go through to achieve something and to create art. And when you've got a team of people that care as passionately as mine did on Melodrive, it just, yeah, it means everything from a professional and a personal standpoint. So I'm very grateful to be where I'm at and to keep climbing.
Yeah, and I mean, every time I've seen like, because don't get me wrong, Oscar, I know like we've like, you know, talked before and we've collaborated and stuff, but today and yesterday in preparation for this interview, I've been watching like a lot of behind the scenes videos on your YouTube channel. So, and every time I've interviewed and talked to you, you've always had it where your guests and people who's been in the movie or in the background production, whatever it is, you guys have always gotten on well. It's always like a really good, loving environment, it seems like on every production that you've done so far, which I think, which I think is probably hard for like any director to say that about every production that they do, you know. So I definitely admire that.
Thank you, Mike. I'm on a good run. You know, I'm sure someone will come along one day and throw off the whole status quo. But at the moment, yeah, but I spend so much time vetting crew. You know, I spend as long pretty much as I do casting, crewing up, because it is really significant to the success of a project. Because also when you're working on these independent restrictions, these limitations, whether that's for, nothing, or whether that's for the budget we had on Melodrive, it's still a challenge. We're not on Hollywood money. We don't have Hollywood resources. We don't have any of that, regardless of what we do have. There's always gaps, and there's always challenges, and there's always not enough people. And it's so important on this independent level that you have the right team, but one, understands that, and two, know how to appropriately navigate it whilst keeping a level head.
Sure.
So yeah, a huge part of my journey so far has been spending all that time crewing up. And I've made friends for life through this and just putting in the time. And by vesting, I literally just mean nothing more than I meet these people for coffee before I hire them. I check that we get on, that we have similar energy, that they understand the project. And a huge thing for me, whether this be newcomers in the cast, whether this be crew, it's like, where do you want to go beyond this? Because for me, no matter how much I care for a project, I'm trying to get somewhere else with each one. And a lot of people can accuse that of overlooking, but it's really not. We have careers to build in any sector, not just creative, in absolutely any sector. Everything you're doing is a stepping stone. And I want to feel from my team around me that it is a stepping stone. What always puts me off people or cast is if it doesn't feel like a stepping stone, if it feels like this box tick, if it feels like, oh, great, I've done a feature, then that's fine and they can relax. I really want to feel that insane and unhealthy amount of passion that I have in other people. Because then also it forces us all to band together even more, because we all know we've got this shared dream to go beyond. And a lot of my team return, like Elliot, for example, Elliot Tottle, who I've had on sound since day one on Cycles, has done every project with me, and we've just grown together. And for us, it's not so much the case of where we want to go, but it's just that we want to keep doing it. We want to keep growing. We want to get bigger. And to have that throughout the whole team is what makes these projects so successful, I think.
Yeah, and you've got to have that passion, because at the end of the day, when you're making a movie or a book, anything that you put out, you put it into the public eye, so to say. And if you're not growing from, maybe something that you've done in your last production, you think, all right, well, that could have maybe gone a little bit better. Or like myself, I do a movie review and I think, oh, that wasn't so great, maybe I can improve next time. Yeah, you want to grow. You don't want to go backwards. You want to go forward. So yeah,
exactly. But the reason I'm saying that is because that does happen often. People that just want to tick these boxes, and that's not to be rude in any sense of the word. It's just life's really hard. Life is really hard, especially as you get older, to keep creating and to put yourself on the line, to be that vulnerable, and to sacrifice so much of not just your own time, but your friends' time, your family's time, your loved ones. You sacrifice so much in order to create. So it's got to be worth it, and you've got to have the right people around you. And sometimes it is just this dream, people want to do this one thing and then they'll be happy and they're satisfied and they carry on with what else they love. But for me, it's got, if it's not film, if it's not creating, if it's not writing and expressing myself through this form, I really don't know what to do with my life. And I like to feel that in other people, that we're these lost souls, these lost creatives that can't do anything but film and need to do it. So, banding together and having that same kind of emotional response to the whole process is, I think, beautiful and really important to me. So I want to keep hold of that.
Yeah, and one thing I can say as a testament, Oscar, I've checked out 2 of your works so far up to this point, of course, Cycles and Love with Black Spots. And I've said on each time, and I've said with the guests that we've had on, like the main actors and actresses and stuff of those productions, is every single time they always give a fantastic performance, and they always have that passion to them, and you can hear it when they're speaking on these interviews and speaking about yourself as well. So you're definitely doing something right, man. That's all I'll say. Definitely.
I'm trying. I'm figuring it out. I don't know. I don't have but at the moment it's working. You might get me on next year and I've done something else. I'm like, right, that did not work. Take back. Right now, it's been a blast, and it's not without its challenges. My God, it is not without its challenges. But when you care about the people around you and you care about what you're doing and where you're going, it makes everything far easier.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Couldn't attest to that more. We have got a couple of comments as well before we get on to our first subject. I've got questions for. I've got, of course, Josh and Lee saying lots of love, guys. So,
Joshy, love you, mate.
Same to you, man. And thank you for tuning in. I've got Adam from What the Gym saying, hey, Mike and Oscar, hope you're both well. So,
hey Adam, nice to meet you.
Hope you're doing well. I've got my friend Matt from Vengeance saying, loving this interview. So, hey, thanks for tuning in, man.
We shall try and keep it up then.
We've got True Action Star of the Deals. He says, evening. So my nickname's Z-Man, and he says, super talented Oscar man. So, hey, there's a new nickname for your Oscar. We got
go by that from now on. Super talent Oscar man. I like
that. Well, he's a great guy. We've got Josh saying, hey, guys. So, hey, Josh. And, of course, we've got Jade as well. So, hey, Jade said she's watching. Hope you will too. And thanks for congratulations. Yeah, well, thank you, Jade. And pleasure speaking to you with Love and Black Spots as well. That was awesome. We have got a couple of questions which we'll get to soon. But the first topic I want to talk about is Chroma. Here you go.
Okay, cool. Right. I haven't spoken about that in a long time.
Right. Well, this is the thing, Oscar. So I never knew that you wrote a book. I'm going to be honest. And then a couple of days ago, when I was doing research, trying to get this interview, and I mentioned this before about myself, like writing and got like a short story that's pretty much done, ready to be released. So I wanted to speak to you more about this reading, kind of pluck your mind.
Okay.
So for anyone who doesn't know, any links for Oscar right now in the description box is for like Chroma, Love of Black Spots, Cycles, IMDb page for Melodrive. That's all in the description box below. So if you want to check out any of Oscar's works, please, I implore you to do so. But Chroma, so from what I found out is this was released on 15th of October 2020.
Yep.
So at that point, of course, during a lockdown, as everyone's probably aware, this is released in a novel and an ebook as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So from what I gathered of like the plot and kind of the messaging of like kind of on reviews and just reading the plot synopsis is that it touches on kind of divorce, childhood, adulthood, broken family, with focus on Riley, who's 8 years old, who's obsessed with the wonders of cinema, in your own words, in a kind of reel on Instagram from what I saw. So I want to know, Oscar, how did you come up with the book idea?
Yeah, so it was originally a script, to be fair. It was this big, huge budget script that I wrote. But I had a similar story, not the story that translated to the book. But it was one of those things, it was like, I'm not going to get to make this forever. You know, it is going, I'm a long, long way off even having conversations about this. But it was kind of at the point I was at, and, you know, we were all in lockdown. I was kind of looking for some big projects, something to do to keep me busy every day. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to translate this into a book. And I'm going to change the story slightly because I wasn't quite happy with it. But rather than doing another draft of the script, let's do a novel. So yeah, I wrote Chroma. I mean, it's about this 8-year-old boy called Riley who is going, his parents are going through a divorce, and it's seen through his eyes and his perspective. But it's all about how the parents don't necessarily always communicate to the children, but the children see everything. But Riley's one of these characters where he doesn't really know how to piece these things together. And because he's such a cinema addict, and especially sci-fi, and the films of Armani Minora, who made Chroma in this fictional world, he relates his whole life and his whole situation with his parents to that film that he's just watched at the beginning of the story. So he goes on this adventure. It's very inspired by Amblin and all the early Spielberg stuff. Nice. And yeah, and he goes on this journey of trying to figure out what is going on. Where is his dad? Why is everyone so secretive? And it takes him to some dangerous places because he relates it far too closely to Chroma. And the reason he does that is because Chroma was filmed in the town Lydene where he lives. So, you know, as he's going on his adventure, he's seeing left behind props and stuff that stayed as part of the sets that the film crew have left behind. So a child's imagination and piecing all of that together suddenly convinces himself that something has happened. And the Chroma, which are these, they're kind of like these silver metallic mannequins, kind of like the Autons in Doctor Who, but more menacing and rigid. And yeah, and after, piecing those two bits together, he goes on this dangerous journey where he thinks his dad has actually been taken by the Chroma because no one talks to him. And, you know, whilst it does sound kind of out there and high concept, I try to keep it as grounded as possible. And it really is about this family just trying to figure it out, to navigate divorce and to do their best. And that's all anyone can do. And I hope it does resonate with people. And it seemed to when I released it, with people that read it, that got those emotions out of it. And yeah, it's just all about the wonder of being a child and having that grand imagination, and whilst it can take you to very good places, it can sadly take you to bad places as well.
Yeah, I think anyone can relate with, if they've had good parts in their childhood, some parts that maybe weren't so great, so to say. I think we all have those kind of memories to an extent. So, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. I'm going to be honest, I haven't read it yet because I only learned about it the other day.
Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry. I don't talk about it much anymore. And that's not because I don't want to. It's just finding the time to talk about it amongst everything else.
Right. Hey, well, you've got the time now, man. So even better. So, well, okay. So you had this idea for a while. You originally had it as a script, but then you turned it into a book. So, given the fact that you're making movies now, is there a chance that we're going to get this into a movie?
I don't know, Mike. It's a hard one. It's not something. It is something I'd like to do, but the creative and the storyteller, and specifically the director I've turned into, and I want to become, and the stories I want to tell, it doesn't necessarily quite fit into the slate I want to have now. Okay. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't like it to be made. I just don't personally think I would direct it, or I at least wouldn't in the next couple of years, because it's not, I don't feel like I'm in a position or I'm where I want to be to direct that film right now. But things change, Mike. I'll never say never, but at the moment is a book.
Yeah. Because I mean, it sounds awesome. And the thing is, if you can put that into like a live action kind of format as well, like your own kind of written perspective, so to say, like that would be pretty fulfilling, I can imagine. So,
100%. I'd like to, and I think the opportunity will be there. It's just not one. Let's say it's just not one of the ones I'm going to be pushing for right now. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to push for it forever. There definitely will come a time where that probably changes, because I'm still very passionate about the themes and the personal side to it that I want to keep exploring.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just like many creatives, many writers, directors. I have so much I want to do. At least for now, I've ticked that little Chroma box. I have released it. It is out there in the world. People can read the story and resonate with it and explore it. And we'll see what the future brings.
Well, one of the questions I actually have is actually come from a comment from one of my good friends, Jason.
Nice.
And he says, what's the biggest differences from writing a script to writing a book, or turning that script into a book as well?
Yeah, sure. So, Jason, I don't feel like I'm the most educated person to answer this, because I just did it. I was just like, I'm just going to do this. But that's kind of been my whole life. I mean, the biggest difference is in a script, you're very sparse of your description, your acting. You leave a lot to interpretation for then your actors to pick up your script and to bring it to life. So you really just write the key details and what has to be known for the actors and, for the people reading your script and to direct it. With a book, though, obviously, you can write whatever you like. There's no rules. You can say you can have 5 pages on what someone's wearing if you want, but there's just no place for that in a script. You just wouldn't do that. In my scripts, personally, I know a lot of people do write about wardrobe, but I never, ever put wardrobe in my scripts at all. I just a detail I don't put in. So that was kind of a fun little difference, getting to really think about what they're wearing and what their houses look like, because that's another thing I don't do in my scripts. I don't write about really what the houses look like. I'll mention props or the color of something if it impacts the narrative, but if it doesn't, then I just leave it to set design, leave it to a production designer. So it's kind of like, I guess the only difference is for me that I felt is writing the book. I kind of got to be every department while I wrote it, so that was fun. And I'd say that's kind of the main difference. It's just the content you write so much more for a book, and you write so little for a script.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from to an extent, because of course in a book, like, as you mentioned, if it's not necessary to like a plot, you don't need to describe like a big mansion or just like a basic small bungalow, for example, because what would be the point if it plays no relevance? Whereas like, in the script, you might need that, of course, if someone's going to someone's house or whatever. So yeah, I can get that. So my next question in regard to Chroma is, so was this published or was this self-published work?
Yeah, so I literally wrote it in lockdown, and then I self-published it in October, like you said. So yeah, I did it all myself, did it off my own back. Wasn't looking for publication from it or anything. It was just this fun exercise I was doing. I was really proud of the product I had and wanted to put it out just to be like, this is how I spent my lockdown. Read it if you dare. You know, and I'm really proud of it. I really love it. I really stand by it. I think, you know, it's not without its flaws. It's the first novel. I was a very new and still early writer at that point. But I think it's got a lot of heart, and that's all I try and really do with my career, just make sure everything's got a touch of honesty and a lot of heart.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so when you were doing this in lockdown, so how long did it take you to write?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, probably like 6 months ish.
Okay.
So that's flat out. Like that was like every day, without stopping. So yeah, probably about 6 months, maybe 6 to 8 by the time it came out. But like I said, I already had like this rough guides to follow of the script. And even though the two are very dissimilar now, if you put them against each other, I did have a lot of the groundwork done. So it sped up a lot of that process. I didn't have to do any real character development because I'd done all that. You know, I didn't have to build this world or this location or these characters because I'd done it. It really was just a case of expanding it and thinking what works in a book, what doesn't. How could I make this story bigger? How can I make it more personal? What scenes don't work? So it's basically like a fresh draft, but in a book form.
Mm-hmm. I get you. So when you were originally writing the script back when, and then you turned it into a book transition, so was there any times when you got like a writer's block? And if so, what did you do to kind of overcome that?
Yeah, good question. So like writer's block, I don't know if I would say I necessarily suffer with writer's block, but I definitely go through deep procrastination periods. But for me, the best way to get past it is just to write through it. Even if you write 10, 20 pages of garbage, at least you've written, you know, and I just keep going through the garbage and then go back the next day and rewrite it into more garbage. And then again, until one day it's like, oh, suddenly I'm happy with that, you know? So really that's my trick to get past writer's block. I just don't stop writing and just accept it will be bad.
Get you. I think that's a good tip because I mean, like myself, if I've ever kind of struggled through anything like that, I always kind of just have a mindset of just like write a line a day.
Yeah.
At least then I've got to think of that line for the day, and if it sucks, then just like erase it as you mentioned.
Exactly.
So
that's a nice that. When you write, I know a lot of people still write on paper and by hand, but when you're writing digitally, just backspace and get rid of it all the next morning, can't you?
Right. So. Well, that's what I've found anyway. So yeah. I get that. Jason's just adding a comment to this. He says, I think I've read something like studios want scripts to be like 70 pages or something because each page takes like a minute to shoot. Is that something?
There's loads of different thoughts on this. I mean, the last I heard, the sweet spot was like 110, or in between 90 and 110 is like the sweet spot usually. But yeah, to be honest, I mean, there doesn't seem to be really any rules. And if you look at Quiet Place, for example, what did that come out? That was like their first draft was like 40 pages or something, and no studios would touch it because it was too short. So then they just put huge spaces between all of the sections to get it up to like 70 pages. And then it was looked at and then it sold. So really, it's just about the content. I mean, a lot of people do still stand by the whole minute a page. And I do agree that it's a really good guide to go by. And it's a good way to judge the script. But, you know, if you've got a page, it all depends on the pacing of your film, you know, and that's something you kind of, like when we're doing Melodrive, for example, and I was reading through it, especially when we're going through rehearsals at the beginning of this year, you really start to feel your pace then. So like some scenes that were 3 pages long, we were doing in like a minute, you know, but then we had our opening scene, which is 10 pages long, which was taking about 15 or 16 minutes. So it really is about the pace of the scene, the pace in which the actors are talking and delivering, and the tone and the mood you want to set. I mean, you definitely could get it to a minute a page. I mean, that could be a fun challenge anyway, just doing a script and making sure it's a minute a page. But, you know, it's loose. I think on average, yes, it probably is right if you average the whole film out, but everything fluctuates in my experience.
Yeah, as I said, depends on the material you've wrote and how that's going to be relayed across on the screen. So, yeah, I get that. Well, I've got 2 more questions on Chroma before we move on. So, the first question I've got in regards to my last 2 is, was there any particular childhood experience that you pulled on to incorporate in the book?
Yeah, so my parents did get divorced when I was 8. And it was a very kind of similar situation in a way, in the fact that they didn't deal with it badly. I think they dealt with it pretty well as any parents can. But there wasn't a lot of communication, and maybe that's not something I needed at the time. But looking back with adult eyes, it's something I kind of feel like I did need, and I would have liked for sure going forward through those years, and could have helped a lot. And but you know, when you look back at a lot of those memories, you're looking at them from a completely different perspective. So, you know, I trust their judgment, but looking back and from my own point of view, the communication and how that differed is what inspired this story, really. So, you know, and in more extreme circumstances of our character, our protagonist of Riley, when he's not being communicated with, where does he go? What paths does he go down? You know, because I think the key to everything is just to communicate. But you know, it's hard to make that right or wrong judgment. So, you know, Chroma is this kind of what if scenario of what can happen and where can you go under these set of emotions.
Okay, yeah, and well, thank you for sharing that as well, Oscar, because I didn't know that. But it's cool in a way that you've pulled from that past experience and diverted it into a book like that. That's pretty unique. And is Riley based on any of your kind of own personality traits at all?
No, I mean, I do write a lot of truth. Pretty much in everything I do comes from somewhere honest. Riley, I think looking back, I mean, it's been a long time since I've read it and I've spent any time with that character. But you know, because he's a child, he's kind of like he's a mix of the child I was and the child I think I would be now. You know,
okay.
And like, yeah. Now maybe that's a really deep answer, but it's like you can't really recall your childhood in the way that it was. You know, like when I think of my childhood, I picture me in a child's body, you know, but we are two different people. So I think he's a mix of what I can remember and who I am now and what I've created. So yeah, he's a wonderful concoction of ideas. And I really like Riley. I think the way he deals with his emotions, especially his confusion, his anger at the young age that he is, and how he relates everything to film and characters and specifically Star Wars. You know, there's a line in the book, I can't remember it properly, where he's getting really angry because he's just seen his parents argue downstairs. And suddenly he understands why Anakin turned to the dark side, because anger is such a possessive emotion, you know? So it's kind of that not knowing how to deal with things. But when you are shown that many films, like I was, which was a blessing, you do think of those moments. You think, oh, I kind of get it now. You know, I get why, you know, Anakin couldn't harness everything. It's difficult as a kid. It's really difficult. And so he's kind of like that, you know, and I still kind of do that now. And I think when we watch films or we read books, we're always looking to see parts of ourselves in them. And Riley's just the extreme version of that.
Get you. Well, man, that sounds awesome. I like the Star Wars reference, by the way.
Yeah. There's loads of them in it. There's loads. All my childhood favorites, you know.
No, man, that's awesome. And so if anyone hasn't already, you can check out Chroma. Again, the link is down below in the description box. And yeah, man, that's kind of about it for the questions with Chroma.
Sounds until I've read it. Nice to talk about it. Thank you.
Hey, no, you're welcome. I'm sure after I've read it, I'm probably going to message you, be like, Oscar, I've got so many questions about this now.
Yeah, we can go again.
Okay, man. Well, the next subject we've got is cycles. Which,
hey, that old chestnut.
Right. Which, of course, we've got a couple, and we will end on Melodrive.
Yes.
But before we get to cycles, actually, so let me just take that off for a second. I've got a couple of comments from before that I think are really cool questions, and I think it's cool to answer. So, Movieman's thrown out a question. He says, Oscar, how did you discover Mike on YouTube regarding him reviewing your directorial debut? Also, what have you learned as a director from that initial film all the way till now?
Great question, D. Thank you very much, Mike. How did I meet you? It was through a film. Maybe Repeat. Did you review Repeat? I know. Perez did. I think it was through that, because I followed the filmmakers on Instagram. And I was kind of seeing their whole marketing campaign. I thought it was really cool for an indie feature, especially on the budget they had. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And I just checked out a few of the channels, yours being one of them. And then, when Cycles came around, I just remembered you. And then Anthony Perez gave me your contact. And here we are. And that's kind of what springboarded that. So really, D, in answer to that question, it was having a network of filmmakers that I already, and my contemporaries that I'm kind of following and I'm interested in. And gauging how they go about releases, because Cycles was my first release and I needed to get some ideas and some guidance from people that had already done it or were currently doing it. And repeat was at the perfect time. So that's how I met Mike and everyone else, and in turn you. And what have I learned as a director from that initial film? To trust my instincts more, to be honest, and to trust my abilities as a storyteller. I mean, when I was making Cycles, the only way that was going to be made is if I trusted myself. So it sounds like a weird thing to say that's what I've learned, because to make Cycles, I had to go completely against the grain, not listen to anybody, because the whole thing was like, don't go and make a feature, make a few shorts. It's not worth the risk. But I had this script. I had the script of Cycles. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I could pull it off. So I ignored all of that and did it anyway. And I mean, that's a huge trust of instinct anyway. But it was the case of I needed a lot more reassurance in those days, or more experienced people around me to just agree that this was the right thing to do, or that was a good idea on set, or this or that. And maybe the word I'm looking for is reassurance. But since Cycles, and since the success we had with Cycles, which came from absolutely nothing, with a handful of first-time filmmakers, that really showed me just to believe in what I want to do, believe in the teams I'm putting together. And that was a skill I needed on Melodrive, because it was immensely challenging, what I've just done. And trusting my instincts was the only way I got through it. And I'm really pleased I did, and really pleased that my team gave me the room to do that, and and trusted me. That's what it's all about, to trust yourself and to be trusted in return. So that's what I've learned. Trust myself. It's okay. If it's right or wrong, just trust yourself. Do your thing.
Well, yeah, I think that's clearly worked because of the experience with Cycles and love of Black Spots as well, having that experience going into Melodrive.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, what would you think, Oscar, if Melodrive was your first feature and you had that pressure on you without the prior experience?
Impossible. I mean, the main thing I struggle with, and with the whole self-belief and imposter syndrome that I struggle with a lot, as I'm sure all creatives do, because it's a constant theme and narrative in our own heads. But it's the fact that I didn't go to film school. I studied music. I didn't have any film friends getting into film. They're people that I've met along the way. So a huge part of me was just like, I feel like just this imposter in this industry that really shouldn't be here and shouldn't be doing these things, especially when I start to achieve success like we did with Cycles, whether that be the festival wins or the really positive reviews. And the audience response, it kind of is this tough battle in your head, and you've got these demons that are telling you on one hand to soak up the atmosphere, to soak up all of the rays, because this is positive, this is amazing, this is a start of something. But on the other hand, you've got that darker voice which is telling you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be doing this. You're taking this opportunity from someone else, whoever that might be. It's a slinky in my hand I'm fiddling with here, sorry about that. And so I do really struggle with imposter syndrome, and especially on Melodrive, which I've just done. I mean, I know we're going to come back to that more later, but the nice thing about Cycles, and what gave me the room on Cycles, was the fact that we were all first-time filmmakers apart from one of us. And that gave me a lot of room just to trust my instincts and to do my own thing, and just to create without judgment, because no one knew what they were doing. Love with Black Spots, it was my same team plus a couple more experience that we could lean on and grow from. And then Melodrive, I had so many people, very experienced people, serious professionals by my side. And that imposter syndrome creeped back up, especially before the shoot. I was very anxious and scared to do it, because I thought all these people were just going to look at me like I wasn't this filmmaker, I wasn't this director. I was this musician that was bumbling his way through the career on a chance of lucky strikes. But, luckily I had an amazing team of people that did trust me, like I said, and definitely made that feeling smaller. But yeah, if anyone can resonate with imposter syndrome, it does not go away. It is a constant battle. And
Right.
Embrace it. It's cool. If that voice is popping in your head, it's because you're doing something right. And it's because you're doing something so good that you feel like you don't deserve. So try and find a positive in just hearing that voice at all.
Yeah, man, I could definitely relate with the imposter syndrome as well. And I think just like having that experience, as you mentioned, is Cycles. You basically were all apart from one. You said all new people to this. Everyone was learning at the same pace, same time, picking up the mistakes or what went well on that day or whatever. Then coming to kind of, love a Black Spots. You're like, oh, okay, cool. This is maybe not too bad compared to what I've had. And then, of course, with Melodrive, which again we'll get into, with like some bigger, well-known kind of stars as well, like in this feature, then yeah, I can definitely see where that comes from.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, it's a constant battle, so I just try and embrace it more than anything. Because what else can you do?
Right. Okay. Well, we've also got a question from Sophie. I just want to quick throw in here. She says, I'm working on a zombie short film I have working title Disconnected. Do you have any tips on writing and directing a short film?
I honestly, like I just said, I still feel like I know nothing. I still don't feel like I'm anywhere closer to giving decent advice. But what I would say worked for me is just put all of that aside, all that negative energy aside, and just do it. Have a crack. You know, what is the worst that could happen? You know, there's so many people out there that never take the leap just to create. And, you know, when that's all they want to do, you know, so if you've got the courage to do it, don't worry about what other people are saying. Don't worry about what you already know or what you don't already know. Just have a go, have a good team of people around you. And I keep coming back to it, but that is my one tip, have the right people around you. That doesn't mean have the people that have got the right experience or the right credits around you. It means have the people that you can trust and that will trust you. And that is your key to success, I believe.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice, man. Just go out there and do it, really, because if you don't, you're never going to know, really, are you? So
and that's all I've done, you know, and things have just fallen into place and I've met amazing people and I've had a wonderful time doing it, you know, just because I thought, screw it, I'll just have a go.
Well, man, yeah, you've met some great people, and I've been fortunate enough when I've had you on the channel before. You've brought those people on to the channel so I could talk to them as well. So yeah, you definitely had some great people, and that kind of leans into our next kind of subject, which is cycles. So of course, this was released on February 28th of 2022. Was released on Amazon as well, Amazon Prime, which again is pretty cool. So we spoke about this previously. If you guys haven't seen that, there will be links on the channel under the interview section. Me and Anthony spoke with Oscar, Henry Olsen, and Henry Fisk about cycles and some more questions then. But I've tried to bring different questions this time about it compared to the first time. So yeah, anyone who's interested, go watch that interview. It's on the channel. So first question I've got, Oscar, is about cycles. So this was set in kind of Bristol. It was filmed in Bristol. It was less than £1,000 budget, I believe. I've read. So it's based in kind of like one room, essentially, the movie, and it's in like is it in like a college university kind of complex? Is that right?
Room. So literally just a small 4x4 bedroom. It's got nothing else. It's just a bedroom. You know.
So the question I've got then is. Kind of like one question was like kind of like little questions into the one. So how did you choose the location? Secondly, what was it like trying to get permissions to use that room? And did you have to pay like a higher cost or rent that room out for a couple of days while you shot this for the 5-day period?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, Cycles, when I wrote Cycles, I had this story I wanted to tell about these two brothers mixed in with university and how I felt going to university and how I felt being there, especially my initial reaction. So that's where the story came from. So speaking of choosing a location, I mean, it was always written in. It was this small, dingy, dark, monochrome university halls room. You know, the only breakout space that they had was obviously the interior, exterior of the building to show the sheer scale of what it means to go to university and to be dropped off at one of these halls buildings. And yeah, the bathroom, the shared bathroom as well, which is just outside to give the audience that bit of relief and to break out the room when things get a little bit too claustrophobic with our characters. And but yeah, when then going to produce it and finding a location, I literally just emailed pretty much every university dorm building company in Bristol, and you got back to me. And to be honest, I think we got lucky. In theory, it should have been something we were paying for. But somehow, I think because also we filmed it in half term, and that was tactical because then students wouldn't be there and it would be quieter and there'd be pretty much no one in the building. And then, what were they called? Well, it was at Transom House that we shot the interior. And we shot the exterior at Unite Students and Unite House by Bristol O2 Academy for anyone that's been there. And they were just said yes. Just said, yeah, that sounds cool. You can have the place. I mean, looking back now, I think they probably thought we were students because of our age. So just thought they were doing a favor. And we weren't students. None of us were students. We were beyond that, especially not film students. So I honestly just think we got lucky. You know, I think a lot of what we were trying to do and what we were trying to say was about student mental health. And, you know, we were really trying to spread a message and a powerful message on that subject. So I think, you know, if these buildings and these companies resonated with my pitch, because I sent them a pitch deck so they could understand the whole film. And then from there, it was just, yeah, they were up for it. We just included their names in the credits and all of that. And that's kind of it. So it's kind of a really simple answer, but it's never usually that simple. It was just the stars aligned on that one occasion.
Get you. That's pretty cool though, man. And especially as you mentioned, because you guys were like uni students, so I just thought, that'd be cool. No,
exactly,
problem. Yeah. So okay, so with that in mind, so you guys were obviously there for the 5-day shoot. Was it 5 days? Is that right?
Yeah. We did 1 day of exterior and then 4 days of interior, and we were doing literally like 12, 13 pages a day, which is something you don't do. We don't even do 10 pages a day. You just don't, because it's too difficult. But we didn't have a choice. We had no money. We had no time. So we rehearsed for 3 months, did 12 pages a day, and finished it. We got there.
Yeah, well, I remember, of course, again, in the past interview we did before, where you guys practiced during lockdown, practiced on fields and stuff like that, which is awesome. So the next question I've got then, will leads into that, is, so when you were filming inside or the exterior, did you have many people kind of come by and be like, what the heck are you guys doing? Or like in like the actual dome itself, like other students being like, what's going on here? Can we watch what's happening? Or
luckily not really. Everyone was pretty good and kind of just left us to it. But you know, we were a really modest team then. There was literally like 5 of us. We didn't have a big camera, we didn't have any big kit. We really looked like this run and gun doc team, to be honest. Which helped us stay hidden, you know, and didn't get any eyeballs or any attention we didn't want. So not really. I mean, the only thing is, in the Hall's room that we had, it was this flat, and it was a shared kitchen, a shared bathroom, and then there was 3 other bedrooms in there too. Two of the people were away back home, I assume, because it was half term. But one of the guys was still living there at the time. So when we were arriving at like 7 a.m. for pre-call and setting up for the day, you know, I never saw the guy, but we always made sure we were quiet because he would have still been sleeping. And yeah, the only thing I remember, I never saw him, but the others did, is we were literally just about to go and shoot in the bathroom, and then Jade runs into the room and goes, "Oh, guys, we're going to have to wait because next door's having a shower." And then I think we must have made him feel so uncomfortable that he then came out and went back to his room and did not have a shower. So if you're out there, I apologize. But yeah, I didn't. I just heard him quickly rush out of the bathroom, which was really kind of him. But you know, that was his space, so we were taking over. He could have had a shower.
And that's awesome, and that's such a fun experience. But I think, as you mentioned, you've probably hit it right at the half term. Not many people's there, and maybe not many people snooping around what's going on, or being like, "Oh, can I get in the shot somewhere here?" Or yeah, I get that. So when you guys had finished filming, and of course Cycles was now released, because I don't think I really spoke to you a lot about it since its like release at the time. So did you get like much kind of press attention or kind of any attention with like in Bristol itself regarding the movie?
Yes, good questions. I mean, Cycles, due to its budget and its limitations and what we were doing with it, you know, it's the first OJ production. To be fair, we were known as OJ scriptwriters then because we were kind of focusing on writing. When it's different, it's a rebrand. But we literally did everything in-house. We did the marketing in-house, the release in-house. You know, we purposely chose to self-distribute to gain an understanding of that model and that release, but also just so we could get the film out, we could be in control of it, we could keep ownership of it and allow it to do its own thing, you know. So, and beyond then as well, you know, we released it, we did the premiere at Scott Cinemas in Bristol, which was fantastic. It had loads of festival wins. It won Best Indie Film at Monkey Bread Tree Film Awards. At Lonely Wolf, it was a semi-finalist for Best Queer Film, which we were really pleased about. Amongst others, King's Cross Film Awards, it got Best Drama. And, you know, it achieved all these things just on its own accord and just by chance, and things we weren't expecting. You know, it was things we put the film forward for because we thought it had a lot of heart and originality and it had a chance, but it was also very niche. So there was no expectation for where it was going to go, if people were going to like it, if they weren't. And we were just really lucky and really grateful that people did like it. They understood the messages that we were trying to convey in the film. And in a lot of ways, it led me to exactly where I am now. And, you know, the journey of Cycles has lived on because back in February, it had the stage play tour. The Scullion from Bristol adapted it for stage, which was really, really cool and such an experience to see. But honestly, the best thing about that was just to get the film team back together again and to be able to talk about a film that we made nearly 2 years ago and that came out a year ago. And to get to speak of a no-budget indie film all that time later is unheard of. And it was an absolute blessing. So just, yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was actually about to ask you about the stage play as well, that you've just brought it up as well, so that's ideal.
I thought I might jump the gun, to be honest.
Yeah, and hey, nothing wrong with that. It leads me into my next question, so that's all good. So
Lovely.
yeah, so of course, as you mentioned, with being like a first feature production and we didn't have like much budget around it. Yeah, so I of course follow you on Instagram, been seeing the updates about like having like a stage play adaptation. That's awesome. Well, two questions with that is: firstly, did you have much involvement in that adaptation? And secondly, is there plans for it to like go on a bigger scale and maybe tour certain places in the UK, or is that kind of it for it now?
Great question. So the main reason it came about is because when we released Cycles, a lot of our critics reviews and audience reviews were like, they really enjoyed it and they'd love to see it on stage. And I knew that was going to happen because, it's a one location film. And usually when you watch films with one location, the ones that come to mind for me are like Tape, Fences, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Those films are all set in that one location. They were all plays first, but then came to screen. So a lot of people thought it was kind of weird that this kind of felt like it was done backwards, that we did the film first, and when it felt like it could have been a play script. And 100%, it should have felt like that. That's kind of what I was going for. I wanted it to have this real and authentic, but also kind of this theatrical tone, and especially in text and in the delivery of the text, kind of have this stagic poeticness to what the brothers say to each other and how they act. So I knew it was coming. And then when it did come up properly in the reviews and in conversations with audiences that have watched it, it just felt like, oh, that could be a really cool idea. And I already knew Nikki Cooper, the theatre producer, through some mutual connections of ours, because that's there. It's just networking and people you know. And when it came to mind and the reviews were coming out, I thought, oh, let's reach out to Nikki because there could be something here, see if he's interested. He watched the film, thought there was loads to play with, and wanted to continue expanding those themes of student isolation, student mental health, depression, because there are things that he resonated with. So we went from there, but I really wanted to focus on my film career. So I didn't have a huge involvement in it. I oversaw the production and I oversaw what they wanted to do with it. And I had a firm hand in where it was going and what angles they were taking it. But other than that, I gave them a lot of creative freedom just to expand the themes, because that's all I wanted to do with Cycles. I wanted to have an honest conversation about how it feels to turn up there and how daunting and isolating it can be. They wanted to do the same, but from a fresh perspective of their own. And I was totally down for that. And it was, an absolute blessing to go and watch it. They did a fantastic job and really expanded the world. And in terms of doing more, I don't know. That's up to the Scullions and Nikki. That is not up to me, but I will keep everyone updated if something changes. But I know they really enjoyed doing it. Audiences really liked it. They had some great reviews, specifically from their shows at the Alma Tavern in Bristol. And we'll see where the future takes it.
That's amazing, man. I would love to see it as a screenplay and like stage play, sorry, because gonna be honest, I didn't think of it as a stage play when I watched it, but of course I only saw the movie and that was it. So didn't really think much past it by that, because not too long after that, of course, which we'll get into, was Love and Black Spots, which was the next project. So yeah, man, I would love to see it actually like maybe come up more north, because from Durham to Bristol's a bit of a journey.
It is. I know they filmed it as well, so I don't know. There might be a filmed version coming out as well. So we'll see.
Well, I'm hoping a DVD release, my friend. I'm hoping. Hey, man, it's always in my collection, and it's always like right at the corner over here in my physical media. So it's usually always in my usually in there as well. But yeah, man, so absolutely over the moon to have like the DVD as well. I've got it for if I ever want to watch it as well. And I'm still waiting for Love with Black Spots DVD as well, my friend.
That'd be hell of for a 15-minute short, wouldn't it? But I'm down.
Right. But yeah, I think that actually no, I've got one more question about Cycles before we move on to Love with Black Spots, and that is, so of course we've got a script book for Cycles, which I found out I didn't know about, but I found that out. Have you ever thought about writing this into like an actual book? And also, if you did, would there be an audiobook version with both Henrys doing the voices for that?
That's such a cool idea. I did toy for years and years about doing a kind of sequel to it, but kind of like
okay.
unconnected sequel. So more of a spiritual sequel that takes place post graduation, because that whole film talks about, you know, being undergrad, a new start, or a refresher, and how it feels to be that. But it doesn't get the chance, other than with older brother, to really talk about the other side of that and post graduation. So post graduation is still something I want to talk about. It's still something that bleeds into all of my projects. And I reckon one day there might be a spiritual sequel. And that's not to say it'd be the same cast or anything, but similar themes, same place, Bristol, you know, and to deal with everything else I haven't had the chance to talk about. But that's not something I'm forcing myself to write. It's just if I get to a place one day and I'm like, do you know what? I've got a story for that now. I've got something I want to say. Then yes. So we'll see. But yeah, where it goes from now, I don't know. I think it's in the perfect place to leave it. I think it's had one hell of a life. A life that's come from nothing, a life that was totally unexpected, and one that keeps pressing on without any of us forcing it, you know, which is just incredible. So I'm just so grateful to everyone that gave Cycles the time, and just, yeah, their attention just for those 70 minutes to sit with younger brother and older brother. It's been hell of a journey with them. I don't think it's over, but I don't think it's not over. We'll see. Maybe they're just always going to be in my heart that close that it feels like they're not ever gone.
Yeah. Well, I think especially as it was your first ever feature film, and it's kind of like a starting path to your first kind of experience up until at present. You know, I think your first one, however good or bad or whatever you think, right, this could have been great, this could have been improved, I would have done this differently now compared to then. I think it's always just going to have that special place with you no matter what. So, yeah, I can get that. I can get that. So, yeah, so that's kind of about it with the questions I've got for Cycles.
Nice.
We have got a couple of questions in the comment section I want to just dive straight to. First, we've got my friend Pete saying just even a Mike and Oscar, really interesting stream. So, hey, Pete.
Glad to enjoying it. Thank you.
We've got my, let me have a look. We've got my brother Joe who asks a question here, and he says, Oscar, if you could be part of any movie ever made behind the scenes, what would it be and why?
Anyone that knows me is just going to cringe so hard right now because it's all I ever talk about every day of my life. But the film that changed my life, and literally I would go as far as saying made me the person I am today, is Before Sunrise by Richard Linklater, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. I would just want to be a part of that. I would just want to see how Linklater and Hawke and Delpy brought those characters to life in such an honest way. And the reason I love that movie is because you genuinely feel like you're watching love blossom and come to life in real time. And I don't think there's anything like it. I think it's just an absolute marvel. And yeah, I just want to be part of that because that's what I want to do with my whole life. I want to create something that is as authentic and as beautiful as Jesse and Celine in that movie. So if I could just have any of their tips and secrets, I would die for it.
That's awesome, man. So I've only heard good stuff about that movie. I've never seen it though.
Need to get on it, Mike. I always say to people, you're not truly my friend or in my life until you've seen it. Literally last summer as well, because Joshy still hadn't seen them, and I literally got him to come along to a marathon that they were doing in Bath at Picture House Cinemas. They were doing all three in one sitting. And thankfully he loved them too, because I said to him before, if you don't love these films, then this friendship's over. And I do apologize. And it is really, the lead of Melodrive, Matt Wake, part of his homework for it was to watch a load of films that inspire my writing and my voice and my direction and the story. And he didn't like it. And yeah, we were on a treacherous road for a while trying to rekindle our friendship, but we got there and I've forgiven him. But it does mean that much to me. Before Sunrise means everything. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about it now before everyone I know starts being sick in their mouth. But Before Sunrise away.
hey man, that's awesome, man. I'm definitely going to check them out. When I do, I'll let you know my honest thoughts as well.
I'd love that.
I've been wanting to watch them for a while, but on the kind of subject with that kind of love, and before we get into the next topic, I'd say the movie that does that for me is Makoto Shinkai anime movies like Your Name. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, I know of it. I haven't seen it, but I know of it. I saw your today.
Oh man, so a bit like you, the movie that kind of changed your perspective. Yeah. That's it for me.
I'm gonna have to watch it now. Yeah, you've made me want to even more.
Well, if you like anime, definitely. If you're not a fan, then maybe not. But if you like anime, I would say so.
I'll check it out.
That's actually going to ask you if that, like, if you'd seen those movies and if they inspired some of your writing, but clearly not.
Not yet. Not yet.
Fair enough, because it's about young love as well. So I thought, that could have played a part.
That's cool. Told it.
Awesome. So we got a question from Adam. So I think the first party, because he's got a couple of questions, says, "Why did you want to be a director?" Which we talked about a little bit before, but he also said, "Which director do you look up to the most?"
Yeah, so I didn't originally want to be a director, to be honest. I did direct here and there for fun, like I mentioned earlier, with my brother when we were kids. I was always at the helm of what we were doing. But really, predominantly when I started the journey, I wanted to be a writer. It didn't necessarily mean I wanted to be a writer through screenwriting or through novels or through poetry, just to be a writer in general, whatever the form. The only reason I got into directing is because I was doing a lot of writing and I was doing a lot of B-movie stuff and a lot of getting a fair amount of credits, whether that be short form or long form. And I was just a bit tired of not expressing my own voice. I thought the reason I became a writer and wanted to be a writer is because I want to express my voice and I want to share my thoughts and my views and my feelings on the world and this crazy life that we all lead. But it's impossible to really get your own scripts when they're not, established characters out into the world. It's really, really difficult. So when I wrote Cycles, I thought, you know what, this is the perfect springboard for me to finally tell my truth, to tell my story, and to express myself in the way that I've been missing. So I directed it because I didn't think there was anyone else that could do it because it was so personal, and the way I wanted to do it, it was so specific. So it'd be like, it's all in my head. It doesn't feel right for anyone else to do it but me. So I went and did it and just got the bug, to be honest. And I thought, this is what I want to do. Like, I love writing, but now I can be on this chain of events where I write, I produce it, I direct it, and producing is not necessarily something I'm going to do forever, but I always want a hand in producing because specifically with just the content of stuff that I do, it's all very personal. It's from a very honest place. So I like to be at the helm. I like to be in control about how that's being expressed and how it's being translated onto screen. And in terms of the second question, I look up to Richard Linklater the most just because of his sheer tenacity to be authentic. And it very, very much inspires me. So Richard Linklater.
Nice. And what's your favorite Richard Linklater movie?
Before Sunrise.
Right, yeah.
All three of them equally, though. All three equally. I can't choose. They take the top spot together. But I did watch Boyhood again on Saturday. And
okay.
Still just as mesmerizing every time. Just an unbelievable feat of work. So yeah, I love Richard Linklater. That's no lie.
I haven't seen a lot of his work, so I will admit. So I'm gonna have to do a bit of a deep dive, man. If it inspires you that much.
Yeah, he really does, for sure. He inspires a lot of people. It's just his voice, he's always stuck to his guns. He's done his own thing. He's not cared about money or success or large audiences, but they're things that have come to him naturally because he's been honest. He's stuck to his guns and he's told his truth, and just the way he's gone about doing that. And he's not the only one that's done it like that. Noah Baumbach is another one who's just always done his own thing, and now suddenly he's one of the biggest on the planet. And I take a lot from that because that's kind of what I want to do, and I feel like I have a lot to say and a lot I want to say, and to watch those directors just say what they want and not think of anything else, and then eventually people like it. That's very inspiring.
Yeah, and just having that creative freedom, as we've discussed as well throughout so far, and just being able to do what you want and like your own passion projects and your own scripts and not like interfering, so to say. So exactly. Yeah, I can get that. We've got Jade saying, I knew you could.
I told you, everyone was going to be like, oh, here we go.
And oh man, I'm to tell you what, I was getting, but the baby comes as well. It's just going to be before sunrise posters in the room and everything.
We'll start him early.
And well, thank you for the question as well, by the way. And Jade also adds, as part of the IMO Reviews team, I can hand on heart say you smashed it. You're exactly what you're supposed to be and inspire me always.
Big up, Melodrive.
No, absolutely. And it always seems like you inspire people and inspire kind of cast members as well that's been on. So yeah, man, I get that. And Josh saying it's a great trilogy as well.
There he is. You can always rely on him.
Well, the next subject I want to get onto is Love with Black Spots, which again is on the channel, like the official premiere with me and Jamie Lee from In the Front Row, who does say hello, by the way. Hey, Jamie. So of course we've spoke about this previously, but I have got some fresh questions to bring into it tonight. So the first one, I've always wondered, this is kind of like a personal question for myself anyway.
Yeah.
So firstly, anyone who doesn't know, Love with Black Spots was released on September 26th of 2022. Of course, stars Oliver Harden, Bailey Dowd there, and Saffron Walters. So hello to those guys if they're watching. A huge shout out. So my question is, Oscar, is when you were filming this, okay? Now there's one scene where, of course, Bailey and Saffron are outside the milkshake shop.
Yeah.
And how do you get that shot of them standing there without the camera in the reflection of the mirror? That's what I've always wondered.
It's really just I don't know. You'd have to ask Joshy or a gaffer. I think it was just luck with the way the light was hitting the window, and also there's that big sign in the middle, which is like has the logo on it and it says closed. That's where the camera is, and luckily with the way that it's framed and the light's hitting the window and the way where our actors are stood, they're blocking the tripod legs, and then everyone else just walks away. So
there's
no real magic trick. It's just hoping the way the light hits it isn't going to make it obvious, and there's some sort of obstruction that you can frame around to hide it. But yeah, I mean, we always run into things like that anyway, and we had a few on Melodrive. It's just sometimes it's just not there and it's not visible, and you then just do your best to obstruct it as best you can. But yeah, good question.
You know, I say it might be maybe like a simplistic question, and it's always one I've seen in films, and I'm just like, how can you not see like the camera like in the background like right now? And I just wanted to ask you,
usually there just obstructed by something, and in that case it was the open close sign was hiding it. So like even if you I think you can maybe even see a tripod leg in the very corner, but you wouldn't know it's one because you can't see the camera, so you'd never put two and two together.
Hey man, well Roddy's actually here. He says never understood how mirror shots are done. So it's not just me.
We're dealing with reflections here. Mirrors are a whole other challenge, but I haven't had to deal with any mirrors yet, so I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's fair enough. Well, thank you for answering that one, because that was a personal one I've always kind of wondered. The second one is, so when we spoke previously about this, you said about short films and don't really have a liking for them.
Yeah.
Would it inspire you to do another one?
I'd like to. It's not that I don't like them. I do like short films. I don't tend to watch short films, to be honest.
Right.
And the reason I don't like them or don't like writing them is because I just find them really, really hard. Credit to anyone who can write short films and can write multiple. Because I just find it really difficult. I mean, I have a lot to say in normal life anyway. I talk so much. I always just have this long, elaborate answer to everything, as you can tell an hour into this. But so that doesn't help. You know, my natural dialect does not fit in a short film. It just doesn't. But I do love the form, and I love what a challenge it is. And when it goes right, and I've seen loads of fantastic short films in my time, which are unbelievably good in the way that they fitted the whole structure and all the character development into 15 minutes. I don't think it's necessarily the fact that I wouldn't do more, but it's just the path that I'm on. You know, I started with a feature. I did a short to fill out my portfolio and to tick the boxes that Cycles didn't. So it was very much from a career stepping stone standpoint, as much as it was a need to tell the story. And, you know, now I've done the feature Melodrive, and it's kind of finding the necessity for me now of like, what do I want to write a short about that I wouldn't write a feature about? There's a couple ideas I've got, and maybe I might do something this summer just to keep the juices flowing whilst we're finishing the Melodrive edit and whilst I'm pitching the next feature. But yeah, they're hard, Mike. They're really hard. And anyone that says they're easy, credit to you. You're a genius, because I can't crack a short film.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine, as you mentioned, though, with like the amount that you want to put into it, like, you know, project, and then trying to condense that down, because of course Love of Black Spots is less than like 14 minutes, I believe, anyway. So
yeah, and a big part of it as well, Mike, is like I do have a full-time job as well. I'm still in the transition of becoming full-time creative, and it takes so much work to even prep a short that you might as well prep a feature sometimes. You know,
Right.
it's like when I haven't got much time in my life anyway, it's like I'm always trying to work towards what I really want to say and what I really want to produce and direct. And with only a limited amount of time, sometimes it just makes more logical sense to chip away on the bigger projects and the feature, if it's got legs, than it does to spend the same amount of months doing a short. So really, it's a lifestyle thing. It's the fact that I can't answer questions or talk in short amounts. And, you know, there's the personal, there's the social, there's the professional side. I would love to do more shorts, and I will probably 100% do more shorts. I'd be surprised if I don't do one this year. But I really have to discipline myself and be hard on myself not to bump up that word count. So it's hell of a challenge. I was asked the other day to do a 90-second short film with a filmmaker I know. And I was like, that sounds like the perfect challenge for me because I can't even get it in 15. So if I can smash one out in 90 seconds, then we're on to something.
Wow. A 90-second short? Okay.
We'll see where it goes. I don't know if anything's going to come of it yet, but yeah, it's cool. It's a cool challenge.
Yeah, but well, I'm intrigued. Yeah, I'm intrigued. So keep me posted.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my next question kind of leans into that a little bit more. So, of course, I Love a Black Spots, as we mentioned, is less than 40 minutes long. Have you ever thought of making this into a next kind of full-length feature?
No, mainly because I do think there's more story you could tell with Love of Black Spots. And that was a lot of the feedback. People wanted more from our characters. They wanted to see them at different points in their life, especially hard in Love of Black Spots because of where we join them. I mean, we join Jack and Isla at the moment. Their relationship's falling apart. You know, we don't see why it started falling apart. We didn't see it before. But that's what I love doing. I love dropping in stories at unconventional times when you're kind of left to put things together yourself. But I also don't think there's kind of more to say of Jack and Isla. I think what I wanted to say about the whole what if around their relationship and that crossroad point and how sometimes it really does take something as ludicrous as swallowing a ladybird to sort your life out.
Right.
I kind of said kind of everything I wanted to do with that short film. You know, it's a nice, honest little slice of life and slice of love. And I would have loved to work with the Ladybirds longer because they were awesome, and I loved the team and the cast. So I would love to spend 3 weeks making a full length with them. But I think they would agree that their characters and their story had concluded.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, well, if you weren't going to make this into a full length feature in the future, would you want to see this adapted onto, like, as a play?
Hey, that could be fun. If someone else can make a narrative out of Ladybirds, I am here for it, and I would support that. Because I love Ladybirds. I think they're so cool and they stand for so much. And there's so much that Ladybirds are saying metaphorically that I'm down for that. If anyone wants to continue this Ladybird multiverse, let's keep it going.
Right. Well, who was it? Was it Nikki? Who you mentioned?
Yeah.
Nikki, if you're watching, here you go. Here's your next play.
Challenge accepted, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean that would be interesting to do Ladybirds into like an actual stage play, though. That would be very interesting.
You have to be front row to see them, otherwise you wouldn't have a clue what's going on.
You couldn't even have people in costumes either because they're on like arms and stuff. That wouldn't really work. So that'd be interesting. All right, well, I've got 2 more questions on Love of Black Spots before we get on to, of course, Melodrive. So one that's kind of inspired me, because as I mentioned before with myself, and I do writing in my spare time as well, is I want to know from you, Oscar, how do you come up with character names? So whether that is for Love of Black Spots, with Cycles, with Melodrive, like, is this just something like you've got like a list of male and female names, or do you consult with Jade and the team at the time? Like, what's that process like?
It's a good question. I hate naming characters. It usually comes from, I mean, when I'm just sporting characters, I tend to just put the names of people I know or people in my life or my friends' names. I just drop them in. You know, with Love
like a little Easter egg sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I tend to do that because I don't know what to call them, and I was like, and because I write from truth a lot and I write very honestly and openly. Sometimes like, well, I've basically just written my friend in this scene, so I'll just put their name. You know, and stuff like that, or family. So, but then in terms of Love of Black Spots, I don't know where those names came from. Maybe Jade knows more, but sometimes it's just you get a feeling. It's like, do you know what? That sounds like a Jack. Or sometimes it won't even be any thought in it at all. It'll be like, right, I need to start writing. I need to put a character name down. I have a bit of OCD. Like, I need a character name. I can't just put like man, woman. I kind of need to put something for me to bring them to life and for me to be able to channel my thoughts through them. So sometimes it's just a case of like, oh, I'll just call them Jack and Isla, and then it sticks, and then you like it. And so I wish I had this great answer for you here, but really, I put very little care into names. I just want, as long as they feel right, they give me the right feeling. And if it's not someone I already know, or if it's someone I've just met in passing, I'll be like, oh, do you remember that guy called Aiden? Let's call this character Aiden because they share some similar traits. And if it's people I know now, it's people I knew long in the past or growing up or, you know, stuff like that. So a lot of it just comes from people I already know.
And have you ever had an experience, for example, like with Love and Black Spots, of course, when you're writing the script for this, where you maybe had a different name, and then when you met Oliver, you changed the name or not?
No, and I think like coming back to the whole name thing, if we go back to Cycles, like I didn't name them, and that was a narrative choice to call them younger brother and older brother because then they could kind of be anything. But also, I wouldn't have a clue what to call them. Like I've been asked so many times, "Oh, what would you call them?" No idea. And but there hasn't been a point yet where I thought, "Oh, we should change the character name." Not yet. I mean, there's a lot that I maybe should have changed because they're literally the person. I'm not hiding it at all, you know.
Okay.
I should have given them a character name, but I didn't. I just called them their own name. But no, that hasn't happened yet. But like sometimes also, if you're looking at my characters, if you knew who they were in real life, they sometimes share the same syllables. So I've just swapped the syllables out. So, you know, I'm not very secretive, really. It's all hidden in plain sight.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But so, because I mean, we've got a comment from Jade. So Jade's, of course, coming along saying, "I can't remember how we named them either. I feel like we discussed names and very set on names we didn't agree with or felt wrong, but I don't remember how we finalized the names."
No idea. Genuinely, it's usually just a case of settling.
Get yeah.
Fit the tone of the character you're trying to write and trying to deliver, then it works for me, you know, and we go from there.
Get yeah. Hey, that's fair. That's fair because I always wondered, you know, of course you have like the scripts written. I'm assuming before you know you go out for like cast and call or you know any auditions and stuff. And I just always wondered, you know, like maybe on the time, oh, you thought actually, yeah, let's just call him Oliver because Oliver's playing him, kind of thing, you know. So no, that's fair.
Yeah, that happens. Like, and there's this. I mean, on Melodrive, to jump the gun a little bit again, there's this character who's a recording studio engineer. And I wrote the character as the recording studio engineer I used to record with my dad when I was 14, 15. He was called Alex. And I wrote the character as Alex. I wrote the way he talks. I wrote his name. I described him as Alex. We shot the scene in the studio where I used to record with Alex. You know, so that's an extreme scenario where I thought, you know what? I don't really know how to hide this. Let's just call him Alex. And then we were having trouble on set and we couldn't get the recording studio to link up with the mixer. So Alex had to come down, and that actor, Howard Davey, great actor, who was playing Alex, Alex walked into the room and he was like, wow, the real Alex is here. And it was this really awkward moment because I hadn't told Alex and he hadn't realized that I'd obviously written him, called the character him. So I just kind of like brushed it over, didn't say anything. And I'm sure he got the gist. But yeah, it was one of those moments. I was like, oh, I definitely should have changed his name, but didn't.
I get you. Well, but that's definitely an interesting story, and I love how like the actor Alex met the real Alex at the time. That's cool. We have also got our mutual friend Anthony A. Perez saying,
hey,
Anthony. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Well, yeah, I have got one more question about Love and Black Spots, but that definitely ties into Melodrive, which we're finally getting to as well, and kind of like the last topic we'll touch on as well. So in preparation for Melodrive, again, I appreciate it's in post-production right now. We don't know like a date. We did speak before the stream saying it could be early next year. We don't know, however. So I'm going to keep my questions limited for now because I've already said to Oscar, I'm going to be getting Oscar back on the channel. But when it does release, so we can go into it further than to being officially released. But yeah, so in preparation for Melodrive, did you or Jade or anyone you know go back and watch your previous works and take notes that worked well, what didn't, and channel that into this one?
No, not really. I try to take each project as, treat it as something new. Because Cycles, just watching Cycles and Love for Black Spots are so uniquely different. You know, you wouldn't necessarily put the two side by side, and you can't really with Melodrive either. I mean, being a writer-director, it's really the case of just getting better at communicating my characters to people, you know, and that was the main thing. And like dealing with the characters on Cycles and Love for Black Spots, and then coming to Melodrive, that was the one thing I had confidence in. I knew the characters I wanted to bring to life. I knew how I wanted to make them real. I knew what made them tick. I knew all of their layers. So that was the main thing. I didn't go back and watch things, mainly just because I've just not had the time. You know, we were in pre-production for Melodrive since September. We were recording a soundtrack album from November until last Saturday, which was our last session. We made the film for the whole of April. You know, I was pitching Melodrive from when after we shot Love of Black Spots in April, right up until September, and when it came out. So there was kind of no time in between. You know, each project has flowed into the next. So that's probably why I haven't gone back. I do whenever just some loose end, just go and look and kind of see where I'm going, what the growth's like, what I'm proud of, what I'd like to improve. So it does happen, but not so much on purpose.
Yeah, I get you. And as you mentioned, of course, the projects are different to one another, and you didn't have the time. You can't really go back and assess that and maybe add little bits in. However, I do have a question though. Is there any Easter eggs from Love of Black Spots and Cycles in Melodrive?
There is. I don't think there's any Love of Black Spots ones. But there might be. I can't remember. There's definitely Cycles. There's a good few Cycles. There's some that you'd have to find them, and there's some Easter eggs to some other projects I've done as well. Some non-film for our other hand, that one. Change the Comfort. There's some of that in there. And there's loads of other little bits hidden away from myself and the other crew, the Easter eggs within the film. But you'll have to find them when it comes out. I don't even know where they are, to be honest. Our amazing production designer, Megan Barnett, and her set dresser, Natalie, they put the whole sets together. And I can't even honestly remember where they put all of the Easter eggs now, but they are in there.
Oh wow, okay. Well, when I do get a chance to check out the movie, I'll watch it, and then I'll watch it over slowly on like a repeat, and then hopefully next time I interview you, I can be like, oh, so I noticed at this spot here, this is where it's at.
Love it. Now we always try and do that, but like, yeah, the main one I remembered literally like a month or so before going into Melodrive, I watched the Cycles trailer because I was up redoing the website or something, and I watched it. And then noticed that there's a Melodrive DVD in it. And I was like, and that had, you know, I'd only just written it. There was no plans of making it at that point. And there was already a Melodrive DVD in the set design. And it proves, I mean, I did it on purpose. And when I saw it, I remember doing it. I was like, oh yeah, let's manifest it. Let's put Melodrive in the film now. So yeah, it's always been around. So there's an Easter egg in reverse in that movie. High concept stuff.
Well, so I tell you what, a cool little idea could be is in your features going forward is have those DVDs in the background, like in every movie, it's in somewhere different.
Yeah,
like a bit like a Cornetto trilogy, where you know the Cornetto's somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine just saying like Cycles is just like there. I don't know.
It'll always some way. It will find its way.
And Jade's asking, Jade said, both of our dog Penny are there. And Key and I have Oscar's old band CDs.
That's true. We did go for a more music, background for the Easter egg in this film. Yeah, I did forget about that. There's a lot of my old music life in this film hidden away. So yeah, you'll get to find that if you know what you're looking for.
Okay. And is there any Easter egg of your time when you did boxing as well?
No, none of that.
Okay.
That's a challenge for the next one.
Okay, that's fair. Right, so the next question I've got, of course, so in this movie, for anyone who's not aware, we've got Mark Arnold makes an appearance here. We've got Michelle Collins and Chrissy Wooner, if I've got that right. And then I read on IMDb Junior Wooner.
Yeah. So Chrissy starred alongside her real life son, Junior, as well. They played Sharon and Luke. Mark Arnold from Teen Wolf plays our protagonist, Ethan's dad. He plays Mickey. Michelle Collins plays the mum of Nora. And then we have a whole handful of emerging talent, which are, in my opinion, the best in the country. Of Matt Wake, who plays Ethan, our protagonist, Megan Alderson, who plays Zoe. We've got Beatrice Fletcher, who has done the whole indie circuit. So I'm sure people have seen her face before, who plays Amy. We've got Christine During, who plays Freya, which is Ethan's wife, and then a whole load more of fantastic, incredible, inspiring people.
Yes, I was reading about the cast on IMDb as well, and looking up if they've done like any kind of past projects or maybe film you're of. I mean, the one I know most probably Mark Arnold, which we
Yeah.
talked about before the stream. So a question right at the bat is, of course, on the poster which you can see behind Oscar, or if you go on IMDb, it's on there. Um, what was the choice with the yellow Peugeot?
I owned it already. So
Okay.
when I was writing the film, I thought, what's a fun little summary car? I looked out the window. There was this yellow car that we already owned. So I thought, I'm going to write that in because that's perfect. And like the key is to writing, independent films. It's try and incorporate as much as what you have already, because the more that you write that you don't have access to, or which are going to cost you a lot of money or unachievable, you're just making things a lot harder for yourself. Always write with what you have access to. And like there's that whole term of write what you know. I don't necessarily believe write what you know, but definitely write what you can achieve, write what you can feel, and that's kind of what I try to live by. I write what I can feel, even if it's fiction and it's not from truth, or there's a lot of things I write from a place of what if. Can I at least feel it? Can I resonate with what I'm trying to say? And with this, it was like, let's put my own car in it. It's had its own adventures, very much like the ones in the films. It's bright yellow. It's a tiny 3-door, and it just looks like adventure, and it looks like the coast. So it made its film debut.
No, but that's awesome, man. You incorporated your own car into the movie, and of course, it's very prominent in the posters that we've seen so far. And I'm assuming the car itself is a character in a way in the movie. It seems like that.
Yeah, totally. Like, we're with the car for the majority of the film. The whole film's this music drama road trip. And Ethan and Zoe go on this wild, crazy, youthful road trip together, and it's all out of this yellow car. And it's yellow to express, the happiness and the possibility of what can be achieved one summer with someone you love.
Get you. So the question I've got straight away then is, when filming this, you mentioned over like the space of 3 weeks, did you have any issues with the car at any time or anything like that, like breaking down?
I mean, I thought we were going to, because we've had the car for 4 years, and it's just been really keeping it alive to get through this film. But it was kind of, genuinely.
Wow, okay.
And but the only thing really was on our late shoots, when we were using the car pretty much for the entire shoot day, for the full 10 hours, in the scenes where we had to turn it off and on again every time going for a take. It was those days where it was getting a little bit slow to start up. I thought we were going to kill the startup motor or something. We didn't have a spare battery. Sometimes it was 4 a.m. and we were shooting on a night shoot, and we're turning it on and off. And also, it's not just a prop car. People need to get home in it. And there was a few times, and I thought, you know what? We've got enough turning it on and off. Let's not do that. Let's just leave it off, and we'll get the scene. So we had to be a little bit careful and a little bit cautious of it just dying. But it didn't. It was great, and it did the job. And it's such a fun, lightweight little go-kart that it's just the perfect energy for the film. It was brilliant.
So going into it, so I've watched again, and I've seen some behind the scenes photos on Instagram and on your own personal one and OGA Productions. So again, there's a couple of shots where it looks like it's shot where, of course, Matt and Megan are of course in the driver and the passenger seat. So was there any tricks of how you didn't get the camera in the interior mirror as that's being shot?
Yes, we did a whole host of things with the car. I mean, we had a car rig that we put on the side of the car, looking through the windows from outside. We did handheld stuff on the inside. Joshy, with the camera, doing everything handheld, pulling focus, zooming, finding the framing. Hard work on windy Devon roads, a real killer abs, a real ab workout. And then we would just swap seats. And then we would swap again. And, when it was in the car, because it was so small and I needed to be there to direct, I also took over sound duties when we did the car stuff. So anything driving, it's just me and Joshy sat in the back, swapping seats every couple of shots, and then rigging up on the outside, coming back inside, moving the actors, moving ourselves to achieve this dynamic range of material that we've managed to get.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm very excited for it. And just before we do wrap up, I've got just a couple of questions I want to ask you about this, and then we will.
Yeah, go for it.
So have you got any cool stories of meeting Mark Arnold or Michelle Collins or anything like that?
I mean, Not necessarily. I mean, but they were wonderful people, and I spoke at the beginning of this interview about that strong imposter syndrome that we all have. I've never felt it more than when Mark and Micheal turned up at our base for the first time on their shoot morning. And we were getting them into costume and hair and makeup, and then they were left with me to host and to start rehearsing before we made our way to set. And it was definitely one of those moments. I was like, just trust myself, trust my instincts. You've got this. You can do this. I mean, we were lucky, and I was grateful because the way I scheduled it is that they came in on our final 3 days. So by that point as well, we were a well-oiled machine. We knew exactly what we were doing. Everyone felt very confident and comfortable in their roles. And we were ready just to show them what we're capable of. But there was this moment, and I was in a room with them. I was in a conservatory with them. And we were just talking about the scene, just me, Mark, and Micheal. And we were just, bouncing off of each other, and just their generosity in the time they gave me, in their own opinion and in their voice, and also the generosity in their time and hearing my voice, and trusting me with this material. And of course that was going to happen. They're professionals. They know exactly what they're doing, but they've had a huge, long career, and I'm at the start of mine. So it's just that own inner demons that thought I wasn't going to get that. I don't know why I felt that or thought that. And just the generosity of them as people, and the work that we achieved together by just trusting each other, believing in this story, having passion for the characters and the journey that we were going on. And it was just kind of this beautiful moment, personally, just to be sat in the room with them, with these two veterans, and it just to be working and us to be bouncing off of each other, and it to be collaborative, and it to be this beautiful, empowering experience to just never stop what I'm doing, because it feels like the greatest thing in the world. And I will never, ever forget that. It was just a moment. The whole shoot was just such a whirlwind. Whenever you're working on an independent scale, you never have enough time or people or resources, and you can't really take it all in. But just those couple hours I had scheduled that morning, just me and them to rehearse, everything sunk in. I was just like, wow, look at where I am. Look at where my team is. Look at the scale of what we're doing right now in such a short space of time. And it wasn't just pride for myself. It was pride for everybody around me. It's just like, just look what we're doing. And I really just took a moment to breathe and to just take it all in, and to realize that I was literally sat opposite Mark Arnold and Micheal Collins, who I've seen in so much. And it just to be fantastic. So I'm very grateful to them for their generosity, their trust, and their ability to bring Mickey and Nora to life in such an experienced and authentic way.
Yeah. But and I think it's one of those where it's like such a fulfilling moment, right? Because as you mentioned, start of your kind of like filming kind of career is, you start on this first feature, as you mentioned, not really knowing anyone, and like, it's the first time for everyone. And then like up to the point now where you have got to meet Mark Arnold and Micheal Collins and share that time with them. And same for myself, I just turned on the camera one day, and now I'm, sat with yourself, a filming and director, which is amazing. And also a cool story as well. We need Jill on this stream, by the way, because she's saying here, you got to teach Mark drums.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Like, where's this story come from?
So I forgot about that. Why didn't I say that? But Mark had never played drums before, but a huge part of the character of Mickey is Ethan's dad. He's obviously the one that taught Ethan music when he was a kid. And there's this scene where they refined their relationship together. They rekindle their relationship. And it takes place in the recording studio that I just told you about, with the engineer called Alex. And Ethan and his dad, Mickey, play a couple of songs together. But in the script, Mickey plays drums. And a huge part of this film, what we've done is all of the songs that you see Ethan play in the film, all of the sound is live on set. Whether that be outside studio. So there's not going to be overdubbed with any polished or glossy studio recordings. It's all live. And we've worked immensely hard with our actor, Matt Wake, to get him ready for that. And also Elliot Tuttle on sound to make sure that we had all the resources we need to capture high quality sound. But obviously, coming with that means that Mark needs to be able to play drums on camera, live, in time, to a click track, to another musician, whilst acting in character. So it was this immense challenge, but we did it, and I taught him drums in a couple hours. Just really simple stuff, just like kick and snare, and some little rhythms and fills. And he was just such a trooper. He had never played drums before. He's a massive music fan, so that helped. Because he really, he knew everything about music. He was telling me and Matt so many incredible stories of Springsteen and the Beatles that he adored, which was so nice that he was imparting this wisdom. And he just gave it his all. He managed to do it. I mean, me and Elliot were in the studio directing him, and then Elliot was the one doing all the sound in the studio whilst Howard pretended and acted. Then I was sat on the floor of the studio with my monitor watching the visuals, and then I had the same audio in my ear, so I had the same click track. And then as it got to the point where Mark had to come in, I would say down the microphone that only went to Mark's ears. I would just give him a count in of like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, he would come in right on cue. And yeah, we managed to find this really good rhythm. I mean, it was tough. It was really tricky, but it was always going to be. But for Mark to have learned drums in literally like 2 hours and to be able to play in time and stay in character was a real testament to his ability and our ability as a team to get through it and to navigate that immense challenge.
That's amazing, man. That's incredible. And the fact that, as you mentioned, it's all live music. It's not like a pre-recorded soundtrack and they're just miming the words with that scene that's going on as well. Yeah. You don't hear that a lot in films. Of course, they're all miming because they've got the backing soundtrack and stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we've been working on since November, because we have a studio album as well, but what we're using, so there's 11 songs, it might be 12, 11, let's say 12. There's 6 songs that are just part of the score, part of the soundtrack that you'll hear over the top of scenes. And then there's 6 songs that are live in the film. And that's a range of solo busking scenes, that's duets, that's scenes with multiple instruments. There's a campfire scene with like 12 musicians all playing at once. And we've captured everything live. And then on some of the bigger numbers, like our big one, Teenage Plans, which is a busking scene between Ethan and Zoe, the studio track that we've recorded, we won't be using the vocals or the guitar from that studio track, but we will be using the drums, the double bass, the keys, and the violin and percussion. So you'll have the live guitar and the live vocals, and then at the right moments, the backing track will come in to give it that extra spruce of energy. So it's an immense challenge. It's high concept, but you're right, it doesn't happen often. Because of my music background, I was desperate to do it that way. I mean, we had done it kind of that way before, but on a small scale because of the end credits of Cycles. Obviously, we have the busker at the bottom of the steps at the end credits, and we recorded that sound live. So we knew we could do it, and it could sound good, and it could sound authentic. And on Cycles, we had nothing. We had one shotgun mic, and it still sounds beautiful.
Right.
Melodrive, it was like, cool, we just need a little bit more and a little bit more time to prep this. And we're really happy with what we achieved. And it does just give this whole other level of life and authenticity and reality that you don't get from musicals or music dramas very often. So we're really trying to do something pretty special with it.
It sounds incredible as it is, man. That capturing that music live as well, like to add to the film as well. And so when you got Mark, did he know he had to play drums?
Yeah, so we read the script and we had a little chat about it. And he was like, "You do know I don't play drums, don't you?" And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But because of my whole education in music, of university and masters, and I'm also a teacher now, I teach rock band lessons to primary school kids. Like I can teach some basic drum beats to 5-year-olds in, an hour. So I was like, well, Mark should be fine. He's listened to music his whole life. It wasn't, I didn't know if it would be fine. There's, he could have had no rhythm. That could have happened. Right. But I just kept the hope. I was like, if I can do it to 5-year-olds, I'm sure I can do it to Mark. And I sent him loads of videos. I sent him kids' videos because they're better if you've never played drums before, just to pick it up because they're so straightforward and they're so clear. And he thought that was funny, but appreciated them because they were straightforward and they did help him. So he kind of knew what he was going to get into, but we hadn't had time to meet to do any rehearsing before the day. So it was really a case we turned up on set whilst the whole team and the crew set up for the shot. I just took him through 2 hours of rehearsals with Matt. The real challenge was not getting Mark to play drums because that's the easy part. The real challenge for him, which is what he achieved, is the fact that he not only played in time with Matt, but he played in time to a click. There's a constant in his ear and in Matt's ear the entire time. And that's the real challenge. I still have musician friends that are my age that I know now that have been studying and practicing their whole life that can't do that. Wow. But it's testament to, you only have a career as long as Mark. You've got the ability to do it. I mean, that's the real trick of being any creative, actor, filmmaker or not. Just longevity. Can you keep it going? That's the biggest challenge of all. So I think it was a huge testament to his character, but also a huge testament to our team in creating this collaborative and comfortable space for everybody just to be able to find their feet and express themselves correctly.
Which is always seems like the case in every project that you've done and where I've spoke to you about previously. And I mean, I can only test this further in the comments where Josh is just saying, such a great experience for the 3 weeks. Going to be proud of you and the team. And Emma saying such a great interview, guys. So thank you, Emma, for tuning in. And just saying, you should all be proud for what you've accomplished in the 3 weeks. And I agree, man. I don't want to press too much more on Melodrive because simply because, as you're aware, I definitely want to get you back on the channel when the movie's like coming out or just before it's released, and I can then talk to you and maybe some of the cast if we can get them on board, and then definitely talk about more there. But for now, Oscar, anyone who's interested, because I've left the link to your Instagram down below in the description for yourself and OG Productions and IMDb. Is that the best place for people to check on for updates? Yeah.
Perfect place, because the majority of Melodrive stuff now will be quiet for the next couple of months because we're going to be in the edit until end of summer. But we'll definitely be sharing progress here and there. And as always, I keep myself very busy and motivated. So there's bound to be something in the meantime between the two as well. So we'll see. But expect Melodrives on your screens hopefully at some point next year. As soon as I have more information, Mike, you'll be first to know. And anyone who's interested, please reach out. Would love to chat. And it's been a pleasure doing this, Mike. So thank you. I feel really blessed to be able to talk about it all.
Hey, you're welcome, man. I just want to thank you, Oscar, for taking the time to do this as well, and just getting the chance to pluck your brain a little bit more on these projects and what really has built you up from, your journey up till like present point as well. So just thank you, Oscar, for being here. Thank you firstly just to everyone in the chat as well, leaving comments and questions for Oscar. And yes, of course, as I mentioned, the link to all of Oscar's own like personal social media, including past works he's done, are down below. So please go check out Chroma, Cycles, Love of Black Spots, and of course with Melodrive. And Oscar, thank you for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Mike. It's been a pleasure. And until the next time, I look forward to it.
Yeah, man, me too. And hopefully we'll get you back on soon to talk about Melodrive as well.
Would love to.
Yeah, man. Well, with that all that said, guys, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we will see you later. So see you.